who are like in Colombia are getting sick versus people in South Dakota versus here in Florida. And it's a doozy. Like people are sick for not just 1 week, but some of them for 2 weeks, really having a hard time giving over whatever they've got.
Yeah, I went to Florida
Yeah,
near your place, and I got sick.
you did
Uh,
it afterward?
I did on the way. Yeah, so I'm just getting over it. I still even have a cough, a little bit of a cough left from that. Uh,
You know,
but
one of the things I'm curious about is, well, first of all, Dr. Saunders is a great doctor. He is not your doctor. Please consult with your provider before you implement any of the things that we're talking about today. But one of the things that's interesting to me is why is it that it's during those months that people get sick? What would you say to that, Dr. Saunders?
okay, that has been a mystery for a long time. Why do we have a flu season? Why? Because if flu is transmitted from person to person and whatever, then why is it that winter time? And then if you go down to the southern hemisphere and they're opposite us, then why during their winter they have influenza and then during their summer they don't, and during our winter we have influenza and during our summer we don't. And so if you think about that, there's been a lot of ideas thrown around, and for a long time it was, well, during the winter people are more enclosed, they stay indoors more, and they're breathing each other's air more, and there's more contact, and that's why you have this. But if that's true, then those people aren't going out to other places like to parties and stuff or whatever and spreading it, right? Whereas during the summer, you're all gathering from everywhere and spreading it, right? And they say, well, that's outdoors and it's not the same. And then they have actually done recently studies on vitamin D, as in dog. So it turns out that vitamin D is not a vitamin, it's a hormone. And this hormone is like really important for your immune system. Let me tell you how it works. In case you know something about the immune system, this is going to be fascinating. You have sort of two separate immune systems. You have what's called humoral immunity, and that's all the antibodies. So they always say, you need antibodies, you need antibodies, you need antibodies. And they forget about the other immune system, which is the cellular immunity. And that's the macrophages and the natural killer cells and the T lymphocytes. And so when people get like HIV, it kills their T lymphocytes, it kills the cellular immunity, and they died. So this is really important. This we like totally neglect it, but it's really important that you have cellular immunity. Well, why is that important for us? Well, because the vitamin D binding protein is macrophage activating factor. And it's the macrophages, which are these big cells that have like tentacles on them. And they're the police department of the immune system. And so they're going around and all the cells are lined up and everyone's perfect except this cell is sick. So the macrophage goes in and reaches around this whole cell and engulfs the whole thing, and then puts digestive enzymes in there and digests the cell down to its component parts. And so it spits out all the amino acids and there's nothing left of it, nothing. And so then you get to use those amino acids to build other proteins and make other cells. And so those macrophages will kill the cells that are infected with the virus before they become virus factories, before they're spitting out billions of viruses all over your body. These macrophages are getting rid of the infected cells, and so you never actually get sick. Or if you do sick, you get sick, you get a very mild illness because this cellular immunity is destroying them quickly. So vitamin D, and guess what? During the wintertime, we don't make vitamin D. I live in Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara, we're above the 40th parallel. And so we are during the wintertime, even when you're in the sun, you don't make vitamin D. I had a guy come in and we tested his vitamin D level, and it was like 30. And I'm like, your vitamin D is low. He goes, no way. He says, I'm a beach volleyball player. I play on the beach every day in the sunshine during the high point of the day, whatever, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And I don't wear sunscreen, and I should have plenty of vitamin D. Well, during the wintertime, the sun comes in at an angle, and the ultraviolet light that causes the vitamin D to be made is dissipated into the environment, so that you don't make very much vitamin D at all during the winter, even if you're out in the sun, even if you're playing beach volleyball. So during the wintertime, that low level of vitamin D means you have low cellular immunity, means you're not getting rid of those infected cells, which means you have to rely on your humoral immunity, which takes a couple of weeks. And that's why everybody gets sick for a couple of weeks, right? Isn't that amazing?
So if you take vitamin D, will you not get sick?
There's some evidence for that. They've done several studies in all areas of the world, and have shown that it doesn't matter if you get it from the sun or from supplements. It works to improve the immunity. Yeah, and the studies that are done are generally in the range of hospitalization. So what is the level of vitamin D in people who end up in the hospital with influenza or cold or flu or something like that? It's, if it's below 30, and we're using the micrograms per deciliter or whatever, instead of the millimoles per liter, that's a different measurement. So if you're below 30, then you tend to be more likely to end up in the hospital. And if you're above 30, there seems to be a cutoff there. The optimum range is around 50.
Okay, I posted this on YouTube, but feel free to comment here on Zoom if you're watching there or wherever you're seeing us. Let us know how maybe the flu, influenza, numerous other things that you may be seeing, have they impacted you or your loved ones this year? Just be curious to know what you are finding. And then Dr. Saunders, typically when we go in, and we have some symptoms, what typically is the treatment for all of these things that are happening right now?
Well, there are some antivirals that are commonly being used, but the reality is they really don't work for the flu. And the reason they don't work is because without the immune system to clear it out, the influenza doesn't clear out. So we use influenza, the word influenza, to indicate actually a lot of different illnesses. There's a paramyxovirus, an orthomyxovirus, a rhinovirus, coronavirus, metapneumovirus. There's the whole list of viruses. And if you've ever gone in, like, to the emergency department with a terrible influenza-like illness, then they'll test you, and you'll see this long list of things, and they test for all of them to see what you pop up with. And so the ones that I've tested this year, influenza A has come up a couple of times. The rhinovirus has come up a few times. And then a lot of other ones weren't tested. So it's not just one. You say, oh, there's a bad virus going around. Well, influenza A is going around. Guess what's not going around? Coronavirus. And everybody's all worried about, they're still getting vaccinations for this old coronavirus that's, long gone. But that's not the issue anymore. Right now, it's actually an influenza virus and rhinoviruses, which kind of happen every year. Yeah.
Is there a difference between those two?
Yes. Yeah. Rhinovirus is like the mild cold. That's the runny nose, and you don't usually get fevers with it. It's like the a red nose, you're blowing your nose a lot, and you're going to stay home just because you're uncomfortable, kind of thing. Whereas the influenza can cause a runny nose, but then it can also cause sore throat, get it down in your lungs, cause a terrible cough, and then actually get into your lungs and cause a pneumonia or a pneumonitis. So the influenza is the paramyxovirus. That tends to be the worst ones. Or the orthomyxovirus, I'm sorry, tends to be the worst one. The paramyxovirus, less bad. And so they are different. They do cause different illnesses. And the contagiousness is different too. Rhinovirus is pretty much, man, that's like all the kids with runny noses, and they're just passing around their runny noses to everyone else. And then they go around and around and around, and they just keep getting them over and over again, because the virus changes as it's infecting different people. It changes, and then it comes back to you again. You can get it again. When my mom was a preschool teacher, she says, "Oh my gosh, I was sick all the time." It's like she called the kids little virus factories.
Okay, a couple comments here. Beverly said, I had flu once at age 8. Then I had no flu at all for 74 years. I also had no flu shots as I have a sensitivity to eggs. This year, at the suggestion of my primary doc, I got a flu shot, not grown with eggs. I promptly contracted the flu. Comments? I also take vitamin D3 regularly.
I have had so many people tell me that those years that I never took the flu shot, I never got the flu, and then I got the flu shot, I got the flu. I looked it up. So taking the flu shot doubles your risk of getting a flu. And so they tell you that, oh yeah, it does. If you ask the company, hey, what about this? Why are people getting the flu more if they get the flu shot? They say, well, yeah, but it decreases their risk of going to the hospital with the flu. And actually, that's not true. That every year, the CDC uses ILI, influenza-like illness, and they track this. And in the population of about 50% of people getting the flu shot, in the hospital, people who go to the hospital that are super sick with the flu, about 50% of them have had the flu shot. So their statistics from the companies are all messed up. They're not equivalent to what the CDC is telling us.
Very interesting. Okay. Lily said, please, what is the first kind of immunity again?
Oh, the first kind is humoral immunity, which is antibodies. And that's just proteins that are swimming around in your blood. Globulins, immunoglobulins. So those are antibodies. That's the first one. The second one is the cellular immunity. But actually, cellular immunity comes first, because that's the first line of attack that the immune system has, is the cellular immunity. And then the humoral immunity can take a couple of weeks to happen.
Okay. We're going to get in trouble for this. John just said, did you just say that the COVID virus is no longer a danger?
Oh, yeah, I did say that.
Okay. Brian says, are Rosabella Moringa and NAD supplements reputable and beneficial?
Yeah, Moringa's a thing. What was the other one?
Rosabella.
Rosabella Moringa.
Oh, that type
Rosabella
of moringa.
Moringa.
Okay.
That's a brand. Oh, well, gosh, I don't know.
It isn't, I don't know if a brand. I have heard someone speak about it. It is a brand. And I guess this person, it's a Barbara. I can't remember her name. She's older. She's often in the natural health industry.
Yeah.
Pulls her hair back. She said the only moringa you should trust is, I think, from Australia. So Rosabella is from Australia. Now, I live in Florida. We grow moringa here. People eat the seeds. I don't know what else they do with it. And that's supposedly really good. So I'm not sure if Rosabelle moringa is solely Dr.
So
Saunders.
that's Barbara O'Neill.
Yes,
in,
Barbara. Yeah.
yeah, in Australia, and so she's promoting the Australian one.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
So
Okay.
is it a good supplement or for being sick or helping you get better? Moringa in general?
Moringa in general is a great. It's like the antioxidants in it are great. Flavonoids in it are great. Yeah, they're really good for helping the immune system function.
I'm glad you brought up, sorry. Oh,
Okay.
I'm glad you brought up NAD because we have a product that has NAD in it and we had to take it down because the government doesn't want us selling any product with NAD. Or no,
Why is that?
yeah, why is that?
No, it's NAC.
Oh, NAC. Oh, I'm sorry. My
Oh,
Yeah. So NAC, N-acetylcysteine. It's an amino acid. But what happened was many years ago, 100 years ago almost, they found that the cysteine, the N-acetylcysteine, would dissolve or thin the secretions in people that had cystic fibrosis. And so they made this drug, N-acetylcysteine, and they would breathe it into their lungs to break up the mucus plugs so that people with cystic fibrosis could breathe. And it works really well, and it's been used for many, many years, and it's been breathed in for many, many years. But then something like 50 years ago, they started making supplements out of it. So now we have a drug that's never been like an approved drug. It's just an orphan drug that's just kind of brought into the system. But the FDA says no, that's a drug under the FDA, not a supplement. So you can't use it as a supplement. Well, the problem is they were letting it be used as a supplement for like 40 years before they said no, you can't use it as a supplement. So it's that. So there's a big fight going on over that right now. I wonder what our new government's going to do about that. All these like crazy things that are going on. Wonder if they're going to change that.
depends on today, doesn't it? Whether or not certain someone becomes the national health director.
it
That's
says he is. It
that's
says
right.
he
It did? You got
I
approved?
just saw. Yep.
Oh,
Oh, what was my question? My question was about NAD and NAD plus. Is there a difference?
yes, there is. NAD is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, and it's necessary for making energy in the body, and it comes out of vitamin B3, niacin. Niacin is made into niacinamide, which is nicotinamide, which is then they add an adenine, and then there's two nucleotides added on, and nucleotides are what your DNA are made out of, and that is a very important transfer of energy through the mitochondria. You have to have that, or you don't make energy. Um, so people are getting and instead of taking vitamin B3, that's the nicotinamide that's made into this in your body, they're going to skip the step and take the NAD, which is already has the adenine and the nucleotides on it. And the NAD plus just means it has a hydrogen added to it. So and when it's hydrogenated, that's like activated. So the NAD plus is the activated form, and the NAD is the inactive form that still needs to be activated. So that's what it is. And the question. So here's the question I have: does anybody need that? Well, I'm sure there are people that need that, but I'll tell you that the large majority of people would do very well just to take the nicotinamide, the niacinamide, and they have they have research done on some people that don't absorb it well or don't make the nicotinamide into the with the adenine. They don't add the adenine on properly, and they do better. There's been studies on like schizophrenia, mental illness, where they use huge doses of niacin, like grams, multiple grams, 5 grams, 10 grams. There was one guy that took 40 grams of niacinamide a day. And just to put that into perspective, usually the dose is like a high dose is 500 milligrams. A normal dose is like 30 milligrams. That's 30 thousandths of a gram. And and so 40 grams is a huge dose. And that so some people, they seem to need this really high dose of nicotinamide or niacinamide, and some of them may do better with an active form, but I suspect most people will do just fine with the vitamin B3 niacinamide.
Another thing that you keep saying what sounds like nicotine, but that's not what you're saying. And so I keep seeing this though in a lot of places where people are using nicotine for various things. What are your thoughts about that? I think we've talked about this maybe briefly on one webinar, but are you seeing this more and more? And why are people using nicotine for things?
In patches
Okay.
in their mouth, right? That's what they're doing.
Oh, I don't even know.
Yes. So Tucker Carlson has come out with a little nicotine patch, and I've seen other models use it, and you just suck it in the corner of your mouth, kind of like how you use people like farmers and country guys.
Bandits, weren't they called bandits?
Yeah.
Those little chew things.
Yeah. So that's what I'm hearing, people using
Okay.
nicotine that way. Dr. Saunders, good or bad?
Yeah, well, I in some cases I have recommended nicotine patches for people. For example, people who are really sick with COVID, the nicotine patches seem to help a lot, and it has a calming effect. And nicotine is a neurotransmitter, and if you think about where it's used. So, for example, in every animal, like nicotine is very common in all over the place. And so, why does tobacco make nicotine? Well, it is a pesticide, and so if pests eat the leaves of the tobacco, they get the nicotine, and it paralyzes them. So they can't function. They just go paralysis. They can't move anymore. And so nicotine is actually used in pesticides in farming, for example. And then, but for people, we use very tiny doses, so no one gets enough to get paralyzed. But it has a calming effect. It's just suppresses. It's a neurotransmitter. So you have nicotinic receptors in your body, and it does do something. So here's the issue that I have with it, though, is that whenever we're dependent on something to feel good, something from the outside, I don't feel good unless I have heroin. I don't feel good unless I have alcohol. I don't feel good unless I have nicotine. I don't feel good unless I have caffeine. So these are drugs that we all use, and when we're manipulating our feelings with drugs, then the side effect of that is to require the drug to feel good, and we call that addiction. And is it really addiction? Well, yeah, but you could stop, but then I just don't feel good, so I need the drug if I want to feel good. So and so I would think that finding a better way to feel good is a much better way to do it. And eating good food, sleeping properly, going to bed early, waking up early, exercising. When you exercise, you make endorphins. That makes you feel good. Fasting, when your stomach is empty, ghrelin fixes your endorphin and enkephalin systems so that you don't feel pain. And you feel better, and things work better and function better. So I think doing things internally. This is what I do to feel good instead of using a drug to feel good. Uh, that's my rant.
Okay, I like it. That's good. I want to go back to some of these questions here. John said, so is it good to take, well, we covered this. Is it good to take NAC as a supplement? And if so, why?
Yeah, and NAC as a supplement.
Yes.
Actually, NAC, N-acetylcysteine, is a sulfur amino acid that is commonly deficient, and well, not deficient, but it's kind of a bottleneck in making glutathione and in detoxing. And so, I don't have any problem with taking a regular NAC supplement because the NAC itself is detoxing, and the liver uses it to detox, and then it's also made into glutathione, which is the primary antioxidant in the body. And if that's the bottleneck that's preventing you from making glutathione, you can detox better if you have the NAC. So I think I don't recommend supplements. Like everybody should always take supplements, but I think taking NAC is a good idea.
Okay. Brian had said, are Moringa or NAD okay to take if you have diabetes and heart issues? I already take healthy heart support and Synachroma.
Yeah, so moringa is great as far as like as antioxidant potential and all that. And then the NAD might improve your energy production. But remember that the block in energy in diabetes is not due to a deficiency of NAD. The block is that insulin resistance prevents you from using fat for energy. So when you can't use fat for energy, you actually have less ATP, less energy. So it's the lack of ATP is not due to a deficiency of nicotinamide. It is due to an excess of insulin. So the primary way to deal with it in diabetes is to get your insulin sensitivity up. So when you become insulin sensitive, then you use fat for energy. You'll make plenty of ATP. Your body can overproduce this stuff as long as nothing's blocking, So and insulin resistance blocks it.
Okay. Jamie says 6 fresh lemons, 1 garlic bulb, 2 teaspoons of ginger powder, 2 tablespoons of honey, 3 cups of fresh pineapple juice, which we talked about yesterday, 1/4 of a teaspoon of cayenne powder, blend together, store in a glass jar, take 1 cup 4 times a day for flu symptoms. It worked for me. What do you think? Thank you, Jamie.
Well, ginger is great for that, for healing. When you crush up garlic, it makes a very nice antiviral. It really works. Let's see, lemon. I don't know what the lemon adds to it. Citric acid, maybe energy or something. Vitamin C. Honey. Honey's been used for hundreds of years. I don't know why. I don't know what's in it. It's sugar, it's glucose and fructose. So as far as the ingredients, I don't have a problem with them at all. And for heaven's sakes, if it works, it makes you feel better, great. Go ahead and use it.
Okay, what did you guys say about pineapple juice yesterday? I was
Oh.
on a webinar, so quick recap.
Yeah, so the pineapple is pretty high in sugar, and so since we were talking to people with diabetes, we said, if you have pineapple occasionally, it's probably not a big deal. But if you're doing phase 1 of the program, you have to count it, and count it in your 20-gram max carbohydrates.
Now,
We also found that pineapple had a lot of weird things that it's used for. Some things that came up yesterday, I think motion sickness, somebody said vertigo. What was the other? There was some other.
Colitis, diverticulitis.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Lots of interesting things. So if you want to go look that up, I think it's, I always want to say bromine. That's what we use in the hot
Bromelain.
tub. That's the wrong word.
Yeah.
Bromelain.
Yeah.
I think that's where some of the benefits come from, is probably that.
Probably
So if
that.
you want to do a deep dive onto the interwebs and check that out, you might find some interesting stuff.
I've heard people boil the rind of the pineapple and it helps them lose weight.
Oh,
I
interesting.
have not tried that, but I've
Huh.
heard from various people.
Huh.
They boil it in the morning and they drink it during the day and it helps them lose weight somehow.
Huh.
Very interesting. Okay. See, you never know what you're going to find. It's kind of like berberine. Like, what doesn't it help with? I don't
I
know.
know.
All right. Okay, let's go on to some more questions here. Okay, we did that one. You know, I remember a long time ago, Dr. Saunders, 2012-ish, let's say. No, I think it was before that. No, it was around that time. I think I got sick once and you had recommended maybe like 1,000 milligrams of, what was vitamin C measured in milligrams? Maybe a
Yeah.
thousand every couple of hours or
Oh
something
yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
that.
Yeah. That's a thing. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
some vitamin D in there as well, and maybe another supplement. And that helped me a lot. What else was it? Vitamin C, D, and
And zinc.
it was zinc. Yeah, in pretty high doses. And that actually helped me a lot too when I got sick. I don't remember what I had, but I don't
That's
think
our
I went in actually.
that's our go-to is about 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C every hour-ish.
Okay,
That's
hour.
for
Yeah.
us. But
Okay. All right.
When I was in kindergarten or first grade, I think it was first grade, um, I got chicken pox.
Mm.
My dad was at work. My mom was going to work. So I was going to be home alone all day long. And my mom gave me this big jar and said, okay, take one of these every hour. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, I didn't keep track of the hours. I took one, and then a little while later, I don't know, I took another one. I don't even know how many I took, but it was kind of funny that I wasn't keeping track of the hours, and but I did get better.
Okay. Sib says, what causes vertigo or dizziness? Over the last week or so, I notice I get dizzy for a few seconds when I get out of bed. Only happens getting out of bed. Is there anything natural that can assist? Doctor's appointment in a couple weeks, but would prefer something natural. No high blood pressure.
Okay, so vertigo is different than dizziness. So vertigo is a type of dizziness, but there's lightheadedness. So you have dizziness, and you can have either vertigo or lightheadedness as part of your dizziness. And there's other things that are dizziness. People feel instability and other things, but those are the two primary ones. So vertigo means the room is spinning, and lightheadedness is like when you stand up and you feel like you're going to pass out, and your eyes go dark, and you feel like you're going to pass out. That's the lightheadedness. So if it only happens in the morning and it's lightheadedness, that's hypotension, low blood pressure. And so that's usually a lack of sodium because you don't have enough blood volume. And then during the nighttime, your blood vessels dilate, because you're laying down and you're not pushing blood up and down. So all of your blood vessels tend to dilate because when you're lying down, the blood just has to circulate in a circle and it doesn't require as much pressure. So then you suddenly stand up and you haven't equilibrated yet to that, and then everything runs out of your head and you feel lightheaded. But that is something that can happen, but it's not not normal. It shouldn't happen, but it can happen. And sometimes it's from a lack of volume. And so if it's from a lack of volume, then usually it's because you're not getting enough salt in your diet to sodium to increase your blood volume. And you have to balance that with potassium, by the way. You have to get the sodium potassium balanced so that they keep your intracellular and extracellular blood volumes paired well. So if it's vertigo, that's an entirely different problem. If the room is spinning around, and you're walking like leaning to one side, then that is an inner ear issue, and that could be from inflammation. If it only happens in the morning, I don't know, that would be really unusual. I wouldn't expect that, so I wouldn't know why.
Question here from Allison. Any good recommendations for seasonal allergies? Snowbirding in Florida, then returning to Michigan in the spring. So I get 2 times with the pollen.
Okay. Well, if okay, so seasonal allergies, pollen, it's kind of hard to avoid that, right? Because it's going to be everywhere in the air and you're breathing it in. I've had a lot of people have success with quercetin, nettles, quercetin combination, and bromelain. And so if you have those three together, that's the bromelain that's from the pineapple, right? So the nettles, quercetin, bromelain combination is a really good combination. I've had people that have like chronic allergies. They're spraying all those steroid sprays up their nose and everything, and they get off everything on this combination. And then you only have to take it for a period of time, and it's nutrients, bioflavonoids, natural.
Judy said, I appreciate you all so much. I believe what he is saying. I was very low in vitamin D, and I'm now taking for a while now. There is a big difference in my health. So thankful for your teaching. And I just want to mention too that we do have vitamin D in our Synachroma product. We kind of laughed the other day talking about how we don't really know anyone who shouldn't be taking a Synachroma, probably. I mean, it's that great of a product. And so if you're interested in checking that out, you can find that at bartonnutrition.com. Use code webinar25. That's one word, webinar25, to save 25%. But a really good product. Everyone in my household uses Synachroma. I think both of you use Synachroma, but it's just great that it has vitamin D. I think 5,000 I use in one serving. Is that right? So good product. Okay. Wayne had said, I'm not sure if I'm sick or my kidneys are dry.
Kidneys are dry. Huh.
Not sure what that means exactly.
I don't know what that means.
And how would you? Yeah, how do you know?
Well, is that the person that stands up and gets dizziness?
No.
Because illness can cause that too. If you have like a virus or something, that could cause it. Kidneys are dry, that's dehydration. Yeah, so that would be possible. So if that's the cause of dizziness, either one of those are possible.
Okay, let us know, Wayne, if there's more to that. Let me see here. Okay. Selena says, is vitamin B9 good for you? And why is it hard to find? I've heard it's good for diabetes.
Okay, so get your vitamin B9 as a methylfolate, and then it's really easy to find. So it's 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate, or just 5-methylfolate, or sometimes just methylfolate. But in that form, it's pretty easy to find, and it's very good for you. Everybody needs it to function, and you can't make new cells without folate. And when folate is low, then you don't reproduce cells very quickly, and you age faster. So yeah, having enough.
Right. Anonymous says, hi doc, cortisol is 18.6 with range of 4 to 22. Have diabetes. Blood sugar goes up from 130 to over 200 when stressed. Anything to help combat the stress to lower blood sugar?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to look at that. Okay, so cortisol of 18 is on the high side of normal, and that's generally kind of a stress level. So how do you lower that? Well, there's a lot of different ways you can look at it, and some of them are things that you would do. So meditation, 40 minutes of meditation a day lowers cortisol. Um, Connecting with people. If you have connections with other people, then you get much less cortisol, much less stress. Things that lower anxiety, like exercise, increases endorphins, and that lowers your stress hormone levels. Having a routine, going to bed by 10 o'clock at night, waking up at 6, and having that as a regular routine lowers your stress hormone levels. Fasting lowers your stress hormone levels. Fasting shuts off the adrenal glands, turns off the cortisol, turns off the stress, and turns off the insulin too. So fast. And what would that look like? Well, anywhere from hours to days of fasting. And I regularly do 3 days, but I worked up to that. I think almost anybody can do 24 hours, and that would help. Okay, and then think about supplements too. There's supplements you can take. Phosphatidylserine PS 100. You take that twice a day, and that decreases the cortisol levels. Ashwagandha has been used for centuries, and research has shown it works to decrease stress levels of hormones. So it doesn't suppress your adrenal glands. It just gets the response, the stress response down. So ashwagandha is a good idea too.
Okay, so Wayne was talking about dry kidney. He says, sharp pains, both sides of my back, just below the ribs, lack of appetite, bad case of itchiness.
Wow, lack of appetite, bad case of itchiness. Okay, so the back pain, if it's kidney pain, the kidneys are going to be really tender. So if you push, if you go back there where it is, and you actually push your finger up under the ribs, and you can touch. Well, you have to kind of know what you're feeling, but you have to relax your muscles, and then you can touch the kidney, and if your kidneys are inflamed, you'll know it. It'll be really tender. If it's tender, then you gotta find out why. That's really important. It could be an infectious disease. It could be an autoimmune disease, and you could lose your kidneys if you don't do something about it. So I think the first thing to do is find out why.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Apple cider vinegar. We talked about this yesterday, I think, too. Can apple cider vinegar help with insulin resistance?
Well, yes and no. It's not going to replace having a good diet. In other words, if you're living on ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, apple cider vinegar is not going to fix your problem. If you're doing a ketogenic diet, it actually does. It does make a difference. So the people that say, yeah, drink apple cider vinegar and it'll get rid of your diabetes. Well, not exactly, but it does help. It's a short chain fatty acid, SCFA, and it's made by bacteria, and it modulates the digestive system and prevents you from making excessive acid, like acid reflux, and it decreases inflammation in the gastrointestinal tract. So actually, it's good.
Okay. Beverly said, and I have just read that raw moringa is a good source of quercetin and chlorogenic acid, which may help with blood sugar control.
Yes, yeah, those are helpful also. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Grace said, definitely ivermectin and hydrochloroquine. Hydrochloroquine. Is that how you say it?
Hydroxychloroquine.
Hydroxy. Okay, I couldn't remember. My husband and I used it. Several neighbors and friends used it when we got COVID. We were healed in 3 to 5 days.
Yeah, it's just so annoying that the hospitals were paid to not use hydroxychloroquine. And when there was a study, and ivermectin too, that we had somebody here locally, a doctor that used ivermectin in the hospital, and the patient walked out of the hospital. But the hospital was getting paid for putting people in an ICU. They got an extra, I don't know, thousands of dollars extra if the patient was put in an ICU with a respirator or a ventilator. And so one of the doctors used ivermectin, and the patient walked out of the hospital, and the administrator of the hospital said, "No way, you cannot use that because we're not getting paid for people to walk out of this hospital." It's crazy.
Yeah. That's what I used. I used ivermectin when I got it the first time.
I have a
Okay.
question. Can you have it on hand? Is it something you can get to stockpile
I
or
think so. And I think, I don't know. I don't stockpile it. I did have some for a while, but it expired, and so now I don't have any anymore. Um, but you know what? All over the world, it's like some people just take it every week. They just take their weekly dose of it because they get parasites. And so if you live in a location where they don't treat the water, you have untreated tap water, you're drinking out of a stream or a well, you would take ivermectin just every week. Just this is my weekly dose. Just like you do your once a month dog wormer.
Wow.
It's the same thing. They have a once a month people wormer. Um, and so all over the world, it's over the counter. You just walk into the pharmacy, pick it up. Oh, this is what I take. It's my wormer. So it's only in the United States that they have these little teeny pills, 3 milligram pills. It's for little babies with pinworms. It's the only dose you can get in the United States. So if you can go to a foreign country and get ivermectin and stockpile it, I think that'd be better because they have 12 milligram tablets and 24 milligram tablets. Because they're giving it to adults once a week, and it's not for little babies.
So maybe that'll change with our new health people.
Yeah.
Make America healthy again, people. We'll see.
Well, we'll see.
Okay. Let me see. What time is it? Okay, we have some time. Whitney says, don't the B vitamins need to be present in ratios to one another? Taking a multi B vitamin is better than separate B vitamins would seem to be better for you.
Okay, that is a very common misconception. Okay, so Whitney, the B vitamins are not related to each other. They're they're just like different. They work in different ways and different enzymes. They're cofactors for enzymes. And the reason they're all put into the B category is because they all seem to be important for making energy, like in the Krebs cycle, in the citric acid cycle. But they have a lot of other functions outside of that. Vitamins are cofactors for enzymes. And if you have like a vitamin B2 is a cofactor for a dehydrogenase enzyme for one of the subunits, and then a B1 in a different subunit, and then a different enzyme is going to have just that subunit with the B1, and then this other one with the B2. So they're not related, and you don't need levels, and you don't need a B complex. The other thing about the B vitamins is they're all water soluble. But you can't mix them together. They react with each other. So if you look at most B complex, they'll have like either folate or B12, not both, because they'll react and then their shelf life decreases. So it's not simple, and it's not necessary that you take them all together. So when I was saying, vitamin B3 you can take in huge doses, you can take that in huge doses, and you don't need that with other B vitamins. Because if you have sufficient of the other B vitamins, then those enzymes will all work, and all you need is sufficiency.
Good question here from Rose. Does a vegan diet lower cholesterol?
I have seen that vegan diets lower cholesterol if you have a good vegan diet. Dang it. How many California vegans are horrible vegans? I asked one of them once, this is a vegan that says, I hate vegetables. I'm like, you're vegan. You can't hate vegetables. You got to live on them. No, no. I'm vegan. I eat cereal and rice and pasta and corn and bread, breads and cereals. That's all I eat. And I'm like, that's a terrible diet. It's not. So there are so many vegans that are looking on a label and saying, oh, this is vegan. I could eat that. But it's not good for you. It's crap. So just because it's a vegan cookie doesn't mean it's healthy. And that's what I've found in California. And over the years, I've been doing this for 30 years, and I've been talking to a lot of people about their diet. And I have found a lot of vegans do not have a healthy diet.
Yeah.
So the vegans that have a really good diet, yeah, they have lower cholesterol, definitely.
And also go look and watch our webinars on cholesterol and see if you even really do need to lower your cholesterol, because you maybe don't. Could be a myth.
Yeah.
The other thing I was thinking about is, and I'm guilty of this too in my journey, where maybe I was gluten-free or you were dairy-free, and then you find all these prepackaged things that say gluten-free, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna eat this because I'm gluten-free. Doesn't mean it's healthy. The cookies that are gluten-free doesn't make them healthy. So I can relate to that. I've done that myself. Okay. Jamie says, what do you recommend for breakfast in the morning? I have type 2, tired of eggs, and my low sugar and carbohydrate cereal. What can I blend together?
Okay. What can you blend together? Okay. By blend, I don't imagine that you're talking about a blender. I imagine you're just saying, what foods can I eat together? Yeah, eggs are fine. So in the morning for breakfast, eat your protein, because your liver is processing things very well in the morning and not processing things very well in the evening. So have a breakfast steak, have a salmon salad, have something with a sufficient amount of protein in for breakfast. So yeah, the eggs are fine. Cereal, no. Who thought up cereal for breakfast? That's a terrible idea, and it's not even good for you. In fact, I think cold cereal is probably the worst food you can eat next to ice cream. So darn, and I got to tell you, I did my genetic test. In my gene, I have the worst gene you can get, diabetes. So I have a genetic predisposition to diabetes, and it's partly because that I am such a carb fanatic. I just need carbohydrates. So but cereal, oh my gosh, ice cream, oh my gosh, so I don't eat them anymore at all. So yeah, avoid cereal. Have protein in the morning. So you don't have to make it different when. So for example, I have sometimes a pork chop in the morning, and then with broccoli. And broccoli has a lot of protein in it too. You'd be surprised. Broccoli has more protein than milk. We think of milk as a high protein food and broccoli as a low protein food, but there's a lot of protein there. So for breakfast, and I don't know what kind of diet you're on though.
Yeah.
Jamie, because if you're on the diabetes diet, phase 1 of the diabetes solution kit, then yeah, everything I talked about. But if you're not, and you want other options, then beans and rice are a great option, and they're a complete protein. So I don't know, whatever you like.
Just showing this, if you are on the diabetes solution kit, or maybe you're not familiar with it. If you look in the back, there are some really good recipes in here. You don't have to follow these recipes. You'll kind of figure out some of the things that you like. But I love the idea of honestly eating your leftovers from the last meal you had the day before. I think that's a good option for breakfast in the morning if you want to do that. Because typically at night, it seems like people are making a little bit healthier choices. And so you can typically get your protein and, like Dr. Saunders said, your vegetable that you maybe had the night before and have that in the morning, or create your own bowl, or, lots of options there. Um, Beverly had said that B2 and B6 must be balanced.
I don't know. I don't know. I
Okay.
I don't I I do a lot of testing. Like I use the NutriEval from Genova Diagnostics to look at functional analysis of people's B2 and B6. And I don't know how you would balance those. I don't know what that means. You have to have B2 and you have to have B6 and you have to have sufficient of both of them. If that's what that means, I agree.
Okay. Judy said, I take ivermectin for rosacea. I can get it with a prescription from my dermatologist. I can get it from a special compounding pharmacy in Arlington, Texas. And then Judy lists the information there. It looks like DFW Wellness, maybe Dallas Fort Worth Wellness Pharmacy with all the information. So if you're
Oh,
around there.
oh yeah. That's what I do. I send so people that need ivermectin, I send them I get it from a compounding pharmacy. Yeah, so we can get the right dose.
Okay, let's see. Was there anything else in the chat here? Oops. I think that's it. All right.
All
Perfect
right.
timing. Thank
Perfect
you all for
timing.
being here. See you next week. Tell
All
a
right.
friend about us, bartonwebinar.com. We appreciate you guys very much. Bye-bye. Have a great weekend.
Great info, Dr. Scott. Already.
Bye.